Welcome to Mother Goose Asks Why, a program for preschool children and their families. Today we're going to be learning all about plants and gardening. As we go through the activities today, we encourage you to think about the 5 basic components of early literacy: talking, singing, reading, writing, and playing. As we go through the activities, you can talk with your children about what they're hearing, seeing, or experiencing. If they hear any words that they don't know yet, you can talk about them and explain them. Singing helps us to break down words into syllables that are easier for children to hear and learn. Reading helps children understand the basic mechanics of stories and books. It also familiarizes them with a wider variety of words, and hearing these words more often will help make it easier for them to read them later on. Finger plays, like we're going to do today, help build fine motor skills for kids that will be needed for writing later on. And playing. Playing creates an enjoyable experience around reading and learning. All of these activities are designed to create an enjoyable experience for you and your child, not only to learn about science and early literacy skills, but also to help grow your bond together. So we're going to get started with a story shared by Pei Kwan.
Hi, I'm Pei Kwan. I'm from a Corvallis branch of the Corvallis-Benton County Public Library. Today I'm going to retell the story of Tops and Bottoms based on the book Tops and Bottoms by Janet Stevens. It's about a bear and a bunny family. So once upon a time, there was a very lazy bear. He owned a lot of land and money. His father was hardworking and a smart business bear, so he left all his wealth to the bear, to his son. But this bear, all he wants to do is sleep all day. Not far down the road lived a hare. Although hare is clever, he sometimes gets into trouble. He used to own land, but now he doesn't own anything. He lost a bet with a tortoise, and he had to sell his land to bear in order to settle his debt, so he had to pay back money. So they weren't in a very good condition. Hare and his family were not in a good condition. So one day, Mrs. Hare said, "Oh, honey, our babies are so hungry. We must think of something." So Hare and Mrs. Hare put their head together and cooked up a plan. So the very next day, Hare hopped down the road to Bear's house. And guess what Bear was doing? Sleeping. "Wake up, Bear! It's your neighbor, Hare, and I have an idea." Bear opened one eye and says, "Huh?" "We can be business partners, Bear." "Yes, sirree. All we need is this piece of field right in front of your house. I'll do all the hard work of planting and harvesting, and we'll split the profits right down the middle. That means you get half, I get half." "Yes, Bear, it's a good deal." Bear woke up and said, "Huh?" again. "So what will it be, Bear? Do you want the top half or the bottom half? You get to decide, tops or bottoms." Bear thought about it. "Oh, let me see," as he yawned. "I think I'll take the top half." "Okay, top half it is." "Yes, sirree, Bear, it's a done deal." So Bear went back to sleep. Hare and his family went to work. They planted, they watered, they weeded, they planted, they watered, they weeded. They planted carrots, radishes, and beets. This is the top, this is the bottom. When it was time to harvest, Hare went to tell Bear, "Wake up, Bear! You get the tops, and I get the bottoms." So Hare and his family dug up all the carrots, and all the radishes, and all the beets. He plucked off all the top parts and tossed in a pile for Bear, and he kept the good parts, the bottom parts, for himself. Bear looked at his pile and says, "Hey, Hare, the best parts are in your half." And Hare said, "Yeah, you chose the tops." "Whoa, Hare, you've tricked me. Plant this land again. and this time I get the bottoms." Hare agreed. "Okay, it's a done deal, Bear." So Bear went back to sleep. Hare and his family went to work. They planted, they watered, they weeded, and Bear slept as the crops grew. This time, they planted lettuces, broccoli, and celery, and these are their roots. When it was time for the harvest, Hare called out to Bear, "Wake up, Bear! You get the bottoms this time, and I get the tops." And Hare and his family gathered up all the lettuces, all the broccoli, and all the celery. And Hare plucked off all the roots on the bottom, put them in a pile for Bear, and set the good parts aside for himself, the top parts. Bear looked at his pile and says, "You cheated me again. You've got the good parts." "But Bear," said Hare, "you wanted the bottoms this time." "You plant that field again. You've cheated me twice. This time I want both tops and bottoms." Hare thought about it, and he sighed. "You're right, old Bear. It's only fair that this time you get the tops and the bottoms. Okay, it's a done deal." So Bear went back to sleep. And Hare and his family planted and watered and weeded and watered and weeded some more. And this time they grew corn. Bear slept as the crops grew, like he usually does. When it was time to harvest, Hare called out to Bear, "Bear, wake up! This time you get the tops and the bottoms, and I get the middles." So Hare and his family yanked up every corn stalk. And Hare plucked off the tassels on the top and the roots on the bottom, left in a pile for Bear. And then he carefully collected the middles, which are the corns, every ear of corn, and put them in his own pile. When Bear watched, he was thinking, "Oh no, Hare's cheated me again. See, Bear, this time you get the tops and the bottoms like you wanted, and I get the middles." By this time, Bear was wide awake and he got angry. "That's it, Hare. I'm going to plant my own crops from now on, and I get the tops, the bottoms, and the middles." Hare and his family quickly gathered up all the beautiful corn and ran down back to his home. And from that day on, Bear never slept through a season of harvest. And Hare bought back his land with all the profits from selling the crops, and Hare and his family set up a vegetable stand. Now, although Bear and Hare learned to live happily as neighbors, but they never became business partners ever again, for good reason. And that's the story of tops and bottoms. Next, Lori will lead us in a song and rhyme.
Hello, I'm Lori from the Monroe Community Library, and I'm here to do a rhyme and a song with you today. So the first rhyme that I'm going to do is called "Here is a Green Leaf." It's a scarf rhyme. So I have my scarf here, and I'm going to crunch it up in my hand so you can't see it. All right, and it goes like this. Here is a green leaf, and here is a green leaf, and that you see makes two. Here is the bud that makes the flower. Now watch it bloom for you. Okay, that was fun. It's all beautiful purple. Okay, and now we're going to do it one more time. Okay, here is a green leaf, and here is a green leaf, and that you see makes two. Here is the bud that makes the flower that blooms for me and you. Yay, and then you could throw your scarf or wave it around. That makes it very fun. Okay, Next, I'm going to sing a song that goes along with our theme of growing things. And this is called The Gardener Plants the Seed. Okay, so it goes like this. The gardener plants the seed, the gardener plants the seed. Hi-ho, we watch it grow, the gardener plants the seed. The rain begins to fall, the rain begins to fall. Hi-ho, we watch it grow, the rain begins to fall. Okay, next the sun shines. The sun begins to shine, the sun begins to shine. Hi-ho, we watch it grow, the sun begins to shine. Okay, now we have our bud. The bud opens up, the bud opens up. Hi-ho, we watch it grow, the bud opens up. And now we have our flower. The flower smiles at me, the flower smiles at me. Hi-ho, we watched it grow, the flower smiles at me. And it's smiling at you. And now I'm going to introduce Mary from the Elsie Library, and she's going to do a small craft.
Hi, I'm Mary from the Elsie Community Library, and today we're going to make some art by smushing stuff. And this is the stuff we're going to smush. When you go outside, do you notice all the colors in nature? There are so many, and they're so beautiful. Colors come from pigments. Can you say pigment? It's like pig with a ment on the end. Pigment, good. The colors in our skin and eyes and hair come from pigments, and all these colors, the purples and yellows and greens and blues and oranges, reds, all come from pigments. So today, we're going to see if we can get some of these colors and pigments onto a piece of paper and do some art. Let's go. So, we get to do some squishing along the way. So to make the most of the squishing, we're going to need some water. So I'm starting with a piece of watercolor paper. You can use any paper you have around. The thicker the better though. And I'm going to start with some water. So I'm just going to dampen this page. And then I'm going to bring the colors over. We have berries too. I have salmon berries and raspberries. We're lucky to live in a place with so many berries. And later on we'll have blackberries, and those are super squishy. The raspberries are kind of pre-squished. Those always have good deep pigments. Put some of those. I'm going to bring some flowers. And it's kind of an experiment because we don't know what will give us the colors and what will kind of hold on to the colors. So we'll have to kind of do some experimenting. And all these colors over. I am not going to try to make a picture. You can try to make a picture. I'm just going to try to get some colors on the page and make a big squashy color. So everybody looks at flowers because flowers are what the bees and the butterflies and the birds are attracted to. But the leaves are pretty cool. And they're so different. The leaves gather sunlight and make food for the plant. And look at how different they are. The yarrow has these tiny little feathery leaves. Douglas aster, it has strappy leaves, like the straps on your backpack. And look at the comfrey, big fuzzy leaves. Why would a plant have fuzzy leaves? Let's think about that. If I'm a bug and I eat plants, I'm going to want to be munching on like a nice, juicy, smooth lettuce leaf, not a big, furry, prickly, hairy thing. Yuck. So the comfrey is pretty good at not getting eaten by bugs. There's a bug right here, which you might bring some in. We have purples, yellows, and we brought grass, so you're not going to get in trouble for grass stains because it's going to be art today. Some purple, that's an Oregon iris. I'm hoping some of these give off some color. And if you're doing it with herbs like mint, you can smell them. It's a bonus. So before we start squishing, I'm going to put a layer of paper over it because just like the comfrey, it's pretty good at not getting eaten by bugs from the furry leaves, these furry leaves. A lot of plants don't want to be eaten, so they make yucky stuff that tastes bad and also is bad for you. And some of them, if you really rub into them, give you itchy bumps. And we don't want that to happen. Like the buttercups, this whole family, grandpa's cousins, everything, does that to some people. So I'm going to put a couple layers of wax paper over it. Actually, let me back up. Put some more swishy water in there. And then the fun starts. This is when we just start smushing. I'm going to use my hands and fingers. If it's on the floor, you can use your feet and stomp it, smush. Hoping this works. An experiment. You can use a rolling pin if you want. I am just going to knead and squish, maybe spray some more water on here. And just smush that in. That's why it's called smush art. Purples and yellows and oranges. Okay, we're about ready for the big reveal. And you'll have more time to really smush this in. But I'm going to see how our art came out. And you can make a picture if you want. Uh-oh. Let's see. These plants. It's art. Have fun, go out and enjoy nature, and we will see you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure to check out the links for printable instructions for the activity and other extensions activities that you can use. And above all, remember to have fun. It's important that you create an enjoyable experience around literacy and learning.